Hey, peace fam. I want to come on do something a little bit different, so I got my Facebook page up. Everybody can see the Facebook page that y'all can reach me at the most. That's the one that's connected to my phone. If you want to reach me through Messenger or you don't want to reach me through email, that's probably one of the fastest ways to get at me. Besides actually my cell number. So anybody looking to get at me, you can get at me on my Facebook, and I definitely get back with y'all pretty quick or as fast as I can. I'll say that there because I get so many messages, people. I get flooded. I get hundreds, emails, texts, YouTube, Instagram. Like I'm cross-platform, so I got people hitting me up from a lot of different places. So it'll be a lot easier if y'all all hit me up either on my email, walterbay7more@gmail.com, or hit me on my Walter Bay Facebook page. Now, people, y'all have to understand, I operate during the hours of 9 to 5 like everybody else, and that's Central Standard Time. I get a lot of calls, texts, emails, and stuff outside of that hours. So if you happen to hit me outside that time and I hit you back, you know, and then I don't get back to you immediately, I apologize, but I do have my own personal time with my whole tribe, family I got out here in Texas. So, I give as much time as I can to the family, Moors that know that's all I do is talk to Moors and, handling issues for other Moors. Like I don't do anything else. All I do is sit around and help out the people and uplift all of humanity. You know, I work for the people. I don't have, a job working for the Europeans or anybody else. And pretty soon I'm gonna be looking to employ some other Moors. We're trying to really do it big and, gather our community together, get everybody all on one accord so we can have our own economy basically. And just a few things that's coming up in the future. We got big goals out here. We working real hard on all kind of things. Um, Want to address something that I haven't before, and that's the trolls. A lot of the trolls are new to my channel, and been hitting me up about all kind of stuff, just trying to cause confusion. And I want to say a quick F you to all the trolls, and y'all can go, brown nose to your president, Donald Trump. Um, he'll love what y'all got going on. That ain't got nothing to do with me. You got a lot of questions from people, so I want to address a few other little things real quick. A lot of people ask me about the minors in their family, the children, and I definitely have answers for that, but I always say get yourself together first because in law, your children are considered whatever you are, especially the mother. So, everybody, we got to get ourselves right, get our spouses right, and then from there, it'll be much easier to address anyone else that may be in your family, your tribe that may not be as into the information, but you still want their status to be corrected or them to be looked out for. Get yourself all the way right first, people. I always say that do as much as you can. Take as many steps as possible as you can in status correction and go as far as you can into the private as possible. I know it's not realistic for everyone. I know many Moors that are car carrying Moors, but they have a driver's license because they're truck drivers. They have a CDL, so that's how they operate commerce. So it's just understanding the working contracts. I know Moors that sell insurance, licensed insurance agents for the state, but at the same time, they can whip out that nationality card at any given time and, tell them pull out they pay stub, from their job. You'll see that they not getting taxed on the job, because it works all the same, as long as you know how to operate in contract, you're safe. And that's one thing that I try and get a lot over to people is that not everyone is going to be able to correct their status and go totally private. It's just not realistic for everybody. And if you're one of those people, you have to learn how to operate properly in contracts. You know, all rights reserved without recourse, things of that sort. You know, and just what forms and paperwork to fill out and maybe even to deny. You know, e-signing things. You know, I would stay away from that if you can. Or when you e-sign, you know, make sure you get in that all rights reserved. You know, there are lots of ways to operate in contract, and I don't knock the people that do. I don't totally agree with it, but I'm able to operate more privately than some, and I totally understand that. So I try and convey that to people because there are a lot of Moors out here preaching you have to do this and you have to do that, and you know, give up certain things, and that's just not plausible for everybody in how they're living. They're not able to make these transitions the way certain other people are. So you have to be able to take into account for that and help them out to still be able to operate any way they can. And this is one of the things we like to do. Been hearing a lot people talking about Morocco, in particular the kingdom, and the kingdom versus the empire. It seems like people that are talking about it, I'm not going to say all, but there's some that are out there that don't understand the difference between Morocco the kingdom and Morocco the empire. Morocco the kingdom, or the country, the North African country, was the seat of the empire for the Moorish Empire. Like with the Roman Empire, you could say Rome or Italy was the seat of the empire. So at that time when it was Rome, the city-state, they were ruling and had vassal countries all the way to England and, you know, going toward China and in every direction because they were the world superpower, the Romans. And the Roman Empire stretched out vastly past just the kingdom of Rome. The Empire of Rome is what stretched out, and their jurisdiction was larger than just the kingdom of Rome. And people have to understand that that's how empires work. So after the Roman Empire failed, the next empire to rule the world was the Roman Empire. Was the Moorish Empire. And at the times of treaties like the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, Morocco was the seat of power. I would say, based on my research, that it moved around. You know, in the Circle 7, Noble Drew Ali says that Egypt was the capital. And I would say at some point in time that was correct. But during the later times, it was Morocco. Morocco was the superpower, and the Sultan of Morocco was known universally by the Europeans as basically the ruler of all of Africa, which was the Moorish Empire. So it was every country from North Africa, from Egypt to Tripoli, Algiers, Tunis, and then going, you know, even further south down into Mali, Timbuktu, and Ghana, and places like that, all east, west. The Sultan of Morocco was known to be the one who was over all of this, which was part of the empire. The kingdom was just a small country that we know of as Morocco, but the empire stretched all the way from parts of Asia, actually all the way to the Americas. And it's noted because the later Ottoman Empire is one of the ones who expanded Islam. Well, they were really a branch off of what was the Moorish Empire. See, when you go into history, you have to learn about the wars, treaties, and all of that. 1492, what a lot of people know, is when the Moors were expelled from Spain. That was not the end of the Moorish Empire. That was just the end of the Moors in Europe. And that wasn't even really the end, but that was the end of, I would say, control that they had in Europe. But later on down the line, the Barbary Wars throughout the 1700s, the Moorish countries were sacking these European ships. They had no way to travel in commerce on the waters because they weren't allowed to. So the Europeans were paying tribute to the Moors. And not just to the Moors of Morocco. They were paying tribute to all of the North African countries, from the biggest to the smallest. And within these wars that were going on, they had treaties with all of them. The Europeans that broke off from Albion, which later became England, they broke away from the Catholic Church and they came to the Sultan of Morocco to be basically under his protection. And that was what changed the tide to making the United States more of a superpower and giving them power over the European nations. You know, that was how they came to their rise to power, because they turned their back on the Pope and the Catholic Church, and they came to the Moors. You know, there's a real famous letter that Moors talk about from George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco, where he was thanking him for the treaty and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry for, being late on these payments, but, we've been at war with these other countries and blah, 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 but we gonna make it up to you." This was George Washington, sucking up to the Sultan of Morocco, because as it says, they were dominions of the Moorish Empire. And this is talking about America, so it really hasn't changed, and that status is still around. So Americans in general were part of the Moorish Empire. Even though the Moorish Empire went down, we are still those same people, and we still are tied to all these old treaty relations. We have lots of protection that we don't know about because we don't know about the history of our own people. People are not willing to do just the basic research, getting down into it most of the times. And people are quick to speak on what they will say is facts when they're going through looking at the historical record, not knowing the backdrop and the history of what was going on at the time. I heard someone say recently that they didn't even have empires back then, that they were all into the modern day states that we have now, but it's just not true. The biggest ties that turned actually in international law that I can find go back to 1928 with that Pan American Conference. That was essentially when they set up these governments that are running in the same fashion and sense that they are now, and they every conference since then refers back to the ancient nationality of Moors, or any ancient nationality of that time being of diplomatic status. And that goes back to what Noble Drew Ali did, getting the land patent. But we may not be able to see that because it was classified and might not be out for another 10, 11 years if it's released then in 2028, because there's so much information that's been locked away, classified from just the time of Noble Drew Ali. So we could imagine what all is out there, and the information that he had. Like, he had to be killed because of the information was so powerful. And we're really not able to fully even grasp everything that he did. And this could partially be the reason why, just because the information is not all available. And the information that is available, people put a skew on it because they have certain agendas. You know, they want the bigger following or money from YouTube for hits because, you know, that's how they get it. You know, I can't knock them for that, but, you know, you got to come with the correct information. And, you know, I love to show and prove. Anybody that wants to know any more about any of this information, you know, there are various sources that I could give out. Real good book on the Barbary Wars. It talks about a lot of this international diplomacy during those times I'm talking about. It's called Jefferson's War. And it talks about the President Thomas Jefferson and all that, but it really goes a lot more into what was going on in North Africa at that time. And there's some real interesting things in that book. Talks about even a few Moors coming over here to the Americas. You know, during the time of George Washington and during the time of John Adams and brothers like that. And it's crazy. Thomas Jefferson, all of these brothers, they recognized exactly who the Moors were. And though they had war with Moors on this side, they still had to pay very much tribute on that side, and were contracting, you know, against the Moors on this side, on this land like that. I believe that was one of the first things they did after they really got full recognition as a sovereign nation, that they started contracting to be able to do what they were doing. In a second, people. All right, sorry, I'm back now. And that brings me back to more of a modern day sense. A lot of Moors out here are going around just screaming, you know, that the Europeans don't have any jurisdiction over me because I'm a Moor. I proclaim my nationality. You know, I did this. And a lot of these same people haven't went back and rescinded a lot of the old contracts that they were in. So, you know, you can try and claim whatever you want, but if you don't have proof and facts when you get in front of these people, it's going to be hard to make that claim, you know, even if you hold a nationality card, because these people know exactly what they did as far as contracting, and they stayed within certain boundaries. That's why a lot of these European officers get off. I'm not saying that everything that they're doing is right, or that, you know, the system is not corrupt and not protecting them doing wrong, but what I'm saying is their policies and procedures are set up so that they don't have to answer specifically to the Constitution or specifically to any laws, as long as they go by their certain policy. And this is why they do things like will ask you what your name is 2 or 3 times, trying to pull you back under jurisdiction. And we have to understand this is the same thing with the courts and everywhere else that we go. We're going to have certain, I'll say, pushback. By being Moors and knowing who we are, there are certain Europeans on the other side that don't want us to operate in the way that we do. They don't want us to be awakened to waking our people up. So we're going to have pushback in that sense, and then we're going to have pushback from our own people. You know, as bad as I hate to say it, the Moorish community is almost at a civil war. You know, and it's been like that for about coming up on 2 years. You know, And any more that's been around long enough, you know exactly what incident went down that, really started everything off. And it split up what I would say, the black power community as well. It it broke the whole conscious community because the Moors, who was some of the biggest in the community, you know, split between, our brothers and then ourselves as well. So there's a lot of things going on, and you got a lot of people pushing a lot of misinformation. Yeah. So it just always comes back to we have to do a whole lot more studying. We got to really crack these books. There's a lot of stuff in law that people misconstrue. I'm not going to say that none of the people that have been around for years are doing it right, but what I will say is there are a lot of people that have been around for a long time who are old fools. And I very much respect my elders and appreciate a lot of what they've done. But there are some of these people that are in our community that we shouldn't even be considering elders because of the things that they're pushing. And that's just all the way real, And, the prophet talked about these people. These will be the ones, pushed to the back of the temple, or, however you want to style it. But it's just a certain amount out there in our own ranks that we're going to have to ostracize until we get to a point where we're strong enough in our own local communities and local sub-jurisdictions that they don't matter, that their voice is not even heard. And, with that, fam, I'm going to go and get up off of here. Anybody want to get at me? Facebook or my email once again, walterbay7more@gmail.com. Y'all get at me. Peace.